Welcome back to the GAPcast. My name is Guillermo, here to provide a neuroscientific perspective on various topics in pop psychology, here with my co-hosts.
Hello, I am Abraham, and I am here to be filled with knowledge. Good or bad, it's going to be inside of me.
My name is Peter, and I'm here to give some pop psychology, some common references.
And today's episode is going to be about body language, what it means, and the neuroscience behind it. So, Peter, start us off. What do you have?
Well, to start us off, brought to you by Business Insider, we talk about the universal different signs that we do throughout our day and what those signs might be, what they might mean. We start off with something like the shoulder shrug, which is obviously a signal of us not knowing what the hell we're talking about. This apparently is actually universal. Everybody has this idea that we just do that when we have no idea what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so actually, this really fascinates me. It is believed that there are 18 facial body expressions across all cultures in the planet. And it's believed that they were evolutionarily evolved. So that means they're not cultural, they're universal to everything, right? And so these emotions, they include things like boredom, fear, anger, shame, amusement, pain, confusion, disgust, and the list goes on, right? The studies by Cordado et al. So if you're interested, you should look that up. But yeah, I was getting into that. It's believed that they evolved so that way we can have a way of communicating with people, even if we're not in the same vicinity as them. So that kind of makes the language barrier less difficult to overcome.
Different little nitpicky ones are, for example, when you have open palms. Open palms is a sign of honesty. That's why people constantly show themselves. Like, when a dog shows their throat to show that they're actually being, when they show that they surrender. Same thing with humans. We show our palms. We show that we're not hiding a single thing. And we seem to correlate these kind of things. Obviously, with the smile. Remember, what was it called?
A Duchenne smile.
Duchenne smiles. And obviously that means there's these little wrinkles, little crow's feet on the far outside of your eyelids. Other things are we have raised eyebrows, signs of discomforts. Domination is when you point at someone with a closed fist.
Yeah, so actually, I was going to say, I don't know if you've ever noticed, have you seen like with the salutes, like with the salute to the hand, or like even how the Nazis did it? They salute with their palms down, facing the crowd, right? They face it away from you. They never do it palm up. The reason why is it's very awkward if you do it with your palm up. That's like a sign of submission, like, here, come for me. But when you do palm down, you're asserting dominance. I am here. This is my presence. You also notice it whenever you see a speaker that is very confident. They won't do palms up to the crowd. They'll put their palms down and they'll point and gesticulate to the crowd to make sure that their presence is known.
All right, it's pretty cool. Once again, referring back to the psychology of attraction, mirroring your body language is also another sign that the person is interested in the conversation or engaged with you.
Yeah, so the whole mirroring thing, it's very interesting. It's believed that a neuropeptide called oxytocin, it's kind of like a hormone, but not exactly. It's believed to modulate social interaction. And a study found that dosing somebody in the nose with oxytocin, it made it more likely to look into the face and to be able to tell apart angry, happy feelings. It'd tell them apart. And so it's believed that the neuropeptide oxytocin is able to increase the activation of mirror motor neurons. So that's why whenever you're around somebody that you're comfortable with, you release oxytocin and you mirror their body language.
Other ideas is, for example, when you're nervous, something you want to refrain from doing in a job interview or when you're going to court for a crime you probably committed, is if you really touch their face, then with their hands, just kind of like they dab their heads with their forehead with a cloth. But in this case, it's just in any way you touch your face. In other words, you cover your mouth, you touch your forehead, any kind of comfort like that is a sign that you're nervous.
Yeah, so that can be a shielding behavior. A lot of times, people do this whenever they're have a bit of a quiver, or maybe they're trying to conceal their facial expressions. So they cover their face with it. And that's called a perception management behavior. A perception management behavior. And it's done to try to conceal their true feelings. And it's not a sign that they're lying. But if you're an investigator, it's good to look out for this. So that way you can double check to see why they're concealing their emotions.
All right, and then the last point I want to cover on that seems more common is going to be an attempt at seduction, the art of seduction. It's going to be where we have a slight smile along with the direct eye contact. So not completely a creepy Joker smile, but more just a nice little hint at it.
Yeah, so this goes back to our old video, the attraction video. So a lot of times it's believed that eye contact is a good way to release oxytocin. So it's not a direct stare into their eyes. but looking into somebody's eyes releases that oxytocin, and it could increase the bonding between those two people. In fact, it's even believed that in the future, there is the possibility where somebody could dose you with oxytocin to make you more receptive to it, and you don't even know. So they might even manipulate it. But we're a long way from that, because right now you have to inject it into your nose. It's kind of hard to inject somebody to somebody's nose without them noticing. so we should be safe for now. But it's always good to be on the lookout in case people are trying to convince you of something by just using these psychology tactics.
Or like do those like old trick where like like tell them, give them a letter, dose it with the chemicals. You make it the print really small so they have to look closer.
So they just sniff it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it has to be like breathed in like with liquid. So I think we're safe for now. It's not like an aerosol, at least not that I know of. But who knows? Maybe with more research. But yeah, that's pretty creepy. All right. Anything else?
That was actually some different common ones. So let's talk about some negative body language brought to you by study.com. Once again, a lot of these things you should already know by yourselves, either from experience or from basic education. Avoiding eye contact, staring intensely is a lot when you're eager. You cross your arms, it's kind of barrier between you and the other person. If you constantly shuffle around with your hands, it shows that you're actually extremely nervous. You tend to do this a lot of times when you're doing presentations, for example, and you have no idea what you're talking about, but you're trying to sound smart, so you're just shaking your hands all over the place.
Yeah, so there's actually, I wanted to say something about like the crossing your arms thing. There's a misperception that means you're angry, but it's not always the case. It's something known as a self-soothing behavior. People do this to kind of give themselves a bit of security and comfort. And sometimes it makes it like they're mad, but really it could just be that they're uncomfortable or they're a bit scared. So they do that as a way to like, give themselves control over a situation. You also see this type of self-soothing behavior when it comes to, of course, nail biting, but also things like lip biting too. Some people, they do that as well. Just anything that they have control over, they'll do it so that way they can soothe themselves from the anxiety that they have at the moment.
Other ideas is going to be something like, it says here that if you're probably swearing and cussing someone out, you're probably angry. Other things include
that makes sense.
like
that makes sense, yeah.
Xbox Live,
Uh-huh.
Next thing is a clenched jaw is a signal of stress. And then finally, exaggerating nodding signals, trying to say like yes, like completely showing it off, trying to display it in a very exaggerated fashion. It's most likely you want to show that you really agree with them, you're on the same page, or maybe you want them to do the same thing to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, tying it all in together, I want to ask you guys, do you guys catch yourself with these kind of things, or have you guys ever seen it within somebody and used it for your advantage?
Oh yeah, all the time. Like I notice that I'm doing certain behavior and I don't want to come off as that. So let's say I'm crossing my arms when I'm talking to somebody, and then I realize I shouldn't be doing that. I immediately I don't be like, ooh, I don't just quiver and put my arms down. Yeah, you do it casually. People who can self-monitor their own behavior, it gives them an advantage. So that way they don't emotionally leak. But if you do it too tightly, it also come off as like you're trying to manage your emotions, and that's also a problem too. You also see like I do notice these behaviors in other people too, because I study psychology, right? So I do pick it up, but I don't always focus on it. These are like body language experts that are always picking up on this. Like they can read poker players, right? And they'll know if they're bluffing and everything. But this is some advanced stuff, right? I'm not nowhere near there. I don't know, Abraham, what do you got?
Nah, man. Only in poker. Only in poker.
What's something that you notice?
Something I noticed is that usually when Peter has a good hand in poker, what he does is he gets up on the table, he pulls down his pants, and he moons everyone.
That's a power move. He's asserting his dominance.
Took me by surprise. I'm like, oh no, it's really secrets and what?
like he's really analyzing you, Peter.
I was actually nervous for a second. I'm like,
I have a tell. Good thing we play with the video camera.
What have you guys done to catch yourselves? And in other words, where are some little things you notice about yourselves? For example, myself, whenever I get nervous, I tend to fidget a lot. My hands get very emotionless. I tend to pace around a lot, but I don't really I don't put my hands all over my face. I don't get nervous that way. It's more, for me, I'm just more antsy than anything. Yeah,
me too. It's my legs. They start bouncing a bit. I used to do it a lot, but then I caught myself and I stopped doing it. But like when I get really agitated, my legs, they just start bouncing. That's also a sign of nervousness, or like also anticipation as well. But otherwise, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I have facial expressions that I just don't pick up on. I think we all do. They're kind of like,
you can't really see your face.
Exactly. I guess you can pick up some things, right? Like when you're thinking, you can feel your brows fur and everything like that. But otherwise, it's kind of hard. Yeah, that's about it for me. What about you, Abraham?
Whenever I'm nervous, I find myself messing with my facial hair if it's not shaved off. If not that, I'll probably. I think sometimes I'd be thinking too much to the point where I just don't mess around with like twiddling my thumbs or anything like that. Maybe
Like
I
you
might
zone
do
out,
the. I just zone out and I'm just like, like
blank stare. Yeah.
blank stare, no expression.
Referring back to the coping mechanisms, isn't that one of them? Where where you just distance yourself completely. Now,
Mhm.
would you refer that kind of would you referring zoning out as to that, or or is that more of an extreme behavior?
Zoning out is kind of a mild form of, well, it is basically daydreaming, right? I think it's kind of a mild form of disassociation, but not a severe one. You're just kind of pulling back from reality and retreating into a reality that is more comforting, unless you're doing something called rumination, in which case you're thinking about what's causing you anxiety, which can lead to more anxiety. So depending on on what you think of when you pull away, it can be a good or bad mechanism.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm in more intense situations, like if it were a date, if I find myself with a spicy girl or something, or I'm about to meet her,
You say spicy?
spicy girl, yeah, a spicy girl. But pretty much, I'll find myself playing Tetris or some other game to keep myself busy, and I can feel my stomach dying, and I can feel my feet tapping the floor
Mhm.
very fast.
So
So
it's
sometimes that'll
interesting.
happen.
It's interesting that you bring up the stomach. So you guys know the feeling of butterflies and all that.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
there's a reason why you get those butterflies when you're nervous. So whenever you are anxious or worried, you get something called the fight or flight response. You guys know this, of course, and it's triggered by the sympathetic nervous system. And what it does is it draws blood away from the stomach and to like the legs, so that we can focus on running. That's why whenever you get really nervous, you get those butterflies because all the blood's leaving your gut to go to your legs, so you can get ready to run, or your fists to
Oh,
fight.
damn, son. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. So imagine if you just imagine find a really pretty girl and you just get really some butterflies and just fight or flight's turning on.
Mhm.
You ready to just sock her in
Exactly.
the head and you're
The
just like,
that's what's so interesting about fight or flight. It was evolved to deal with threats, but now even social threats trigger fight or flight. That's why in this modern world, people are so stressed because it's not things that will kill you that stress you out most of the time. It's just simple social slights that worry you. And the reason it's believed this has been to evolve is because even social transgressions, it can cause you to be booted from the main group and you lose access to the resources and that can kill you. So it's believed that that's why you do get worried over social things, even though they're not necessarily life or death.
Things just become smaller and smaller, and that's how conflict is pulled out of that.
Exactly.
From disobeying direct orders to, something even smaller, not being in uniform, or eventually just looking at someone wrong.
Yeah, all social transgressions. And they can be punished harshly or just through social ostracism. It just depends. All right. What else, Peter?
no, man, I was actually looking at it like 90 something crazy, but true body languages. And it's just, I'm looking at the website. I'm like, I'm not want to see, I thought it would be fun to like some fun facts. And well, I'm looking at in Asia, believe that patting a child's head will damage the child's soul.
That's what
So,
Clint Eastwood did in Gran Torino, and everyone was just like, "Oh my God, the White Devil! Look at
well,
what he did." And he's like, "What's your problem?"
It's
do
always
all,
important to know the social norms before you go to a country. I think in a Middle Eastern country, if you go give thumbs up, that's a very vulgar sign. So you
Yeah.
have to be careful.
Two thumbs up, or sorry, the peace sign, but flip the other way, directed towards other people with with the backs of the finger directed towards other people. That's like the middle finger.
Oh, in Australia. Yeah, I remember that. You know what's funny?
Strange.
George H.W. Bush did that when he went. He gave him the backwards peace sign. And he thought that was great.
I bet you someone told him, it was like, "Oh yeah, Mr. President, this means you respect them, their culture, and everything."
that's the only
It's
thing that
pretty much a
explains
thumbs
it.
up, but even cooler. It's
That's
like,
even,
"Oh, cool."
it's so awkward. I mean, doing this, I mean,
I
try doing
know.
it. Like, it's just,
I know it's weird. I don't know who does that. I do like
I,
this. Like this is like backwards is weird.
I think it's supposed to symbolize turning someone into a human popsicle.
It's very strange. Nixon did that all the time. I don't know if you ever noticed, but he always did the
I'm
whole
not a crook.
double peace sign. But also, I was gonna say, in Japan, whenever you're handed a business card, it's actually proper form to inspect it thoroughly, turn it around and look at it, and then put it away. Like, don't fold it. You have to treat their business card with a lot of respect because they'll get really offended if you just look at it quickly and you just crumple it and put it in your pocket. They'll get very
it's an
offended.
it's becoming to be an extension of yourself, which is why it's
Mhm.
always important to have yourself a card holder. It's supposed to be a
Mhm.
business card holder, and you're supposed to put it in a very nice location.
Exactly.
Show a sign of
So
respect.
culture matters. Before you travel, study the culture. Now you'll come off like an uninformed American. They're
And
going to
fall
feel
back-
that stereotype.
I think we can pull it off though. I mean, if we have that stereotype, then I mean, does it really affect us? Will they
That's
really
true.
be mad at us? So will they hold us to that standard if they hold us to the standard so low already?
You
I guess it depends on who you're talking to.
take that card, you fold it, you put it in your pocket. They're gonna take theirs out of their sleeve and slice your throat. A lot
no.
more than metal.
Origami.
I wanted to point something out. So there's a really interesting study that I found from Proverbio et al. And they found that blurring faces, it can make it harder for men to determine what the meaning of their body language is. Like they gave them a bunch of characters, but they blurred their faces out and they found that it was harder for men to determine what the meaning of their body language was. But for women, there was no effect. Whether their face was blurred or not, the women were able to predict just as accurately. And so it's believed from this study that women are more adept at decoding the meaning of body language. So even when deprived of facial stimuli, women have less difficulty at interpreting the body language. So it just shows that men, we have a disadvantage there. So
You can't hide
sometimes,
anything from women.
well, at least when it
Women
comes
smell fear.
at least I think this makes sense because women, they have to be able to read men's intentions, right? It has to be evolved that way. If not, the man could do something to them and they die, right? So they have to be really adept at reading the man's intentions to make sure that they're good. So it makes evolutionary sense, but I'm not an evolutionary psychologist, but that would make sense to me at least. And that's everything we have for you today on the GAPcast. Thank you for joining us. My name is Guillermo.
My name is
All right.
Peter. And that's everything we got.
Thank you for joining us. We'll catch you next week. Bye.